do that. So, these skills, the way that I saw it, after I got over the whole like, oh my gosh, how am I possibly going to teach all these skills? I started thinking, but I was taught these skills. And I was taught these skills by my mother. And the way that I was taught these skills was to really understand myself and my goals and my dreams in life. And pay attention to things that are going on in life. So I'll give you an example of paying attention, because I don't really talk about that much in the coming slides, but I do talk about following your dreams. And basically what I mean is that when you have a goal, you have to pay attention to what happens towards your goal. So for example, the other day it occurred to me that I really wanted to have more physical exercise, and I enjoyed tennis. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to try to find a place to play tennis. And then I forgot about it. And yesterday I was having lunch with someone, and she was talking about a new tennis coach that she had. And then she asked me, hey, do you want to play tennis? And I was like, yeah. Of course, I was just thinking about that. But if I hadn't made the goal earlier, I would not have been paying attention to the opportunity, and it would have passed. That's what I mean by paying attention. So when you're clear about what you want to do, you're also clear when an opportunity presents itself for you to do that. So, how to teach students how to be clear. A lot of this is similar to what we've talked about previously. And this is an example of what I would do with students in class in terms of getting them to think about this process. The first step is identifying what they want to do in the future. So, very simple. You know, I might have a free write where they just take 3 minutes to think, where do they want to be 10 years from now? Who do they want to be 10 years from now? What does that look like for them? So there should be an art writer, traveler, adventurer, marine biologist, photographer, scuba diver. Those are mine. So I would give them an example, and then they could just either make a list or they could write whatever they felt like writing about this. So the next step is clarification. So they have to learn to be clear about what exactly they want to develop. So if I say, per this example, I want to be a banker, what does that mean? There's so many different types of bankers in the world. What does it mean to want to be a banker? What kind of banker? Where? Do I want to be working in a small town, like my grandfather did? Do I want to be working in an international banking corporation? Do I want to be a bank teller, where I'm counting the money and handing it out and responsible for all that? Do I want to be a manager? Do I want to be behind the scenes? What does it mean? So basically, what I do next is I train students, or I tell students to research people who are people that they hold in esteem, or people that they want to emulate in the future. I also tell them to research jobs that they think they might like. So when you look at the jobs that you think you might like to have in the future, you see all of the qualifications you must have in order to get that job. And so then the students can sit down and they can figure out how they can achieve these qualifications, right? So this is how I start the process. The next part is making it happen. Many of you, again, have seen this before. So you start with 10 years, goal setting. In 10 years, you want to have such and such. You want it to look like whatever you want it to look like. And then you break it down from 10 years, you go to 5 years. And then from 5 years, you go to 1 year. So basically what you're teaching students is a backwards plan. And we've actually seen the backwards plan before when we talked about independent and autonomous learning. So that was a shorter term backwards plan. That was, by the end of this semester, I want to improve my listening comprehension and having it be measurable. So by the end of the semester, I want to improve my listening comprehension to the extent that I can listen to BBC News and understand 70% of what was said. And then you go in by the steps, week by week, month by month, and you plan how that will be accomplished. So it's the same thing with 10 years. In 10 years, if I want to be a marine biologist and be living on a boat doing research on great white sharks, then in 5 years, I probably had better have a degree in marine biology. I'm probably needing to go back to school. I'm probably needing to have some research that I'm doing somewhere in the world. In 1 year, I probably want to have identified and applied for several schools and programs that would get me into the programs that I would need so that I could complete the education in 5 years. And in this month, I would probably start researching the schools I wanted to apply for, or 3 months later, I would have probably really concentrated on what I want to look for in the specific programs and have started the application process. So I've probably written my cover letter, I've probably written my CV, my statement of purpose, things of that sort at that time. So it's the same thing with students. You teach them, you train them to go through this particular process.
So this week I'm going to get a wetsuit.
Yeah, it can really look like that. Some of my lists for this month literally look like I want to do this, 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 and then I break it down by week. And I know you were joking, but I really do that. Because the point is also, if you don't sit down and you don't teach students to do these sort of strategies, the students, they get to the end and they're just overwhelmed. And then they will have not accomplished, well, they will have accomplished some things, but it will not be as an effective use of time as it could be. You know, if I said I want to be a marine biologist in 5 years, and then I got to the 5-year mark and I'm like, it's too overwhelming, I can't do it. Like, it tends to be that most of us react that way. Instead of sitting down and logically planning out how we will take the small, tiny, little baby steps to get there. Woo, there goes my hat, right? Okay, so lifestyle, finance, family, education. All of these are the specific categories of the goals. So you have 10 years, your lifestyle will look like this. 10 years, your finances will look like this. 10 years, your family will look like this. 10 years, your education will look like this. If you wanted to do this with learners about learning, you may have listening, speaking, reading, writing. Fits in the same way. So, but we're doing it about ourselves right now. So lifestyle would mean what?
How persistent you are.
How to spend time.
Where to go, how they want to spend their time, how persistent you are.
Yeah, because you need drive, just to fulfill it.
Okay, so how much time you want to allot to actually pursuing your goals. Great. So lifestyle might look like, I want to be able to go out to eat every Friday at an expensive restaurant. My lifestyle might also look like, I want to have the money to be able to afford to take my family on a family vacation. So those are things, I want to be able to have the time to spend with my children, at least 2 hours a day. I want to be able to go to yoga classes or horseback riding or whatever it is. That's lifestyle. Finance. Finance, I think, is pretty self-evident. Finance is how much you would like to have. So how much are you saving for retirement? How much are you saving for your catch fund? Do you know what a catch fund is?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. A catch fund is an emergency fund. And generally speaking, they say that you should put 10% of your monthly income towards your catch fund. And it's not spelled anything like it sounds. But this is also known as emergency fund.
What about rainy day?
No, you're not allowed to touch your catch fund, even on a rainy day. You can have rainy day fund. And maybe you can put 1% of your savings. So the catch fund basically is, for those of you who own homes or cars, things happen. For example, your refrigerator, it dies. Your car is in a car accident and it is no more. You have to replace it, or you have to do repairs. That is what the catch or emergency fund is used for. And because you're only putting 10% of your finances aside every month, it doesn't seem so overwhelming when the refrigerator in the end dies, because it will die. It will die. It's a machine. It's going to happen. So just being aware of that as part of finances. So you have your just your general expenses, what you expect you'll be spending every month, what you would like to make so that you could spend what you want to spend every month, your emergency fund, how much that's going to be, housing, etc., etc. All that's included. Family, what you want that to look like.
Forget them.
Forget them. That's possible. Be single forever because it's easier. No. Or how many kids do you want? Stuff like that. Education. So what do you want that to look like? Do you want to continue to have the experience of going to extra courses or classes? For example, if you knew that there was a summer writing intensive, and you wanted to be a writer in the UK, would you go there to do that? Or would you go to Iowa? Iowa, I say that because they have a fantastic writing program. It's really random because it's in Iowa, and like nobody goes to Iowa, but if you want to be a writer, that's the best place to be because nobody goes to Iowa. So there's nothing to do but write. No, they really have a fantastic writing program. Okay, so that would be something that you want to think about. Education. So where do you want to be in the future? What sort of education do you need to be there? So this is an example of what a 10-year plan might look like. Do I have all of them? I do. Okay, so in 10 years, forgive me, I don't have this memorized, so I'm just going to read for you. Lifestyle. So it's travel internationally, be able to afford family vacations once a year, be a successful writer who goes to many conferences and has several books published. The family eats well and leads a healthy lifestyle. That's actually really expensive. Because when you think of not buying processed foods, buying fresh foods, that's kind of expensive. So everyone does a sport, exercises regularly, and everyone consumes low-sugar, vitamin-rich foods. I'm very much against sugar, but I eat it a lot. Finance, can easily afford school for children, own a small, modest house, and have $100,000 US set aside for emergencies. It's a dream, it's a goal. Not going to say it's like going to happen, it's hopeful. Family, have a happy, healthy family, 2 children. Education, develop my skills using the internet and stay current with changes in technology. Get certified as a dive master, do research on sea life, and get my private pilot license. This would be what it would look like in 1 year, so basically going backwards. For lifestyle, I have work to save money and pay for classes, so that would be what my extra money would be going for. Spend time with family at home, that would be in Atlanta, because obviously I live here and they live there, so that means that's implied. Write in my free time. Try to take 1 day to myself every 2 weeks to recharge and review all of my goals, because if you don't look at your goals, you're not going to remember them. And eventually you do want to put your goals away because you don't want to get so stuck on your goals that you are not open to different ways of achieving them. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But finances, save at least 10% of what I earn every single time I earn money for my emergency fund. That even is like when I get a tax refund, I put 10%. This money will not be touched. Invest in education. So I will have 2 savings, one for the emergency fund and one for education fund. And so that would be whatever I use for education goes into the education fund. So family, start eating well and exercising should be natural for me. I have to be who I want to be now. That's my little inspiration thing I wrote for myself. But starting now, always, even if you mess up, you just go back to the beginning and start again. Because every day, it literally is, every day is a new day. Even if you were off track the day before, forgive yourself, get over it, and start again. Try again. That's all we have time in life. We have a lot of time, hopefully, in life. And so you just keep trying. Education, take some writing courses, write in my journal every day, at least 300 words. This is measurable, by the way. You can see if I have 300 words or not. Send my writing to be published through blogs and online sources, college and university competitions. So those are some areas that I'm aware that I can send my writing to for publication. And I break it down one more time just so that you could see what it would look like if it were a 6-month goal. So assume that this had been written in July, and so, right, July, August, September, October, November, December, June. Assume this was written in June, and by December, these would be the outcomes. So that would be start looking, research, and identify places I can publish. Again, you'll notice this is measurable. I can tick it off my list because I can say I learned about this one, this one, this one, and this one. So when you have your goals, you want to make sure that you can measure them. Otherwise, you probably won't be able to keep them. We want to try and keep things measurable. Start a blog. I can tick that off. Write 300 words a day in my journal. I can tick that off on most days, not all days. Write 1 article for publication every month. Yeah, I can't really tick that off yet. Publish 3 of my articles. So finance, whenever I get money, save as much as I can. Have 2 separate places for the money, one for the writing course and one for the emergency fund. Probably I should have said save 10%, because that's measurable. Save as much as I can, that's not really helpful. Doesn't say what that looks like. Family, start eating well and exercising. This is the same as before. Education, start looking, researching, and identifying online writing courses where I can learn for free to begin with, or for a small fee. So just study the art of writing and sign up and take one of those courses in my spare time. So basically what I'm trying to do with this is just to show you the process and how you might do it with your students. And this, you can see that through this process, they have a lot of the skills that we mentioned earlier. What skills can you identify outside of critical thinking that through this process, the starting with the free write, thinking of their goals, and then doing the research to find more information about what they want to do in the future, all the way to outlining from 10, 5, 3, 1 year to 3 months, what skills has that practiced? I will remind you of the skills because I think that's where we're stuck. Any of this? Any of this? Any of this?
Accountability and responsibility.
Okay, so you said this one, right?
Accountability and
Responsibility, absolutely. Social, cross-cultural skills? No?
No.
Okay.
Initiative and self-direction.
Exactly. Initiative and self-direction, good.
Flexibility for sure.
Yeah, flexibility. Because one of the things that I'm now coming to, I said I was going to talk about this earlier, is you find in your goals when you set them that they may not always happen the way you expect. And it doesn't mean you go, oh, it's too bad. I'm not going to focus on that goal anymore. What that means is you have to look for another way to create that goal or to achieve that goal. So you're actually also indirectly going through creativity, innovation, and problem solving, right? Because if you come across a dead end for your goal and say, for example, I can't find any free online courses, what are some of the things I could do instead? What's another way for me to try to achieve these goals? So I'm developing the problem-solving skills and my critical thinking skills. I'm also looking at it from a creative perspective.